I call this meeting of the Common Council for the town of Payson, a regular meeting, August 12th, 2026, to order. And before we get started, I would just like to offer a moment of silence for our two Payson residents that died in a plane crash, and they will be missed greatly. And I just want to offer some time and respect for their families, and to remember the impact they had on our town. So, thank you. With that done, I would like to invite Pastor Joe Tusinardi. Your turn for Christ.
Please join me in prayer. Papa, we come to you, Lord, today for those of us who love Payson and seek your protection and guidance. Holy Spirit, we ask you to fill our leaders with wisdom. Lord, you run this meeting, be with each and every speaker, each and every decision that's made. Lord, we do lift up the family of those who've lost loved ones here in Payson, Lord, in that airplane crash, Lord. Pray you protect them and comfort them with the comfort we've been comforted with in times of tragedy. And Lord, we thank you for the entire town that's gathering around the families and providing for them. Lord, we ask you, Lord, again, to meet us here, be with our council and our mayor and everyone who's in leadership here in Payson, Lord. We thank you for this wonderful town we have the privilege to live in. Pray you continue to just guide and lead us and order our steps. And Lord, bless this time. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I guess I need the script.
Megan, do you have the roll call for us?
Let the record reflect that all council members are present.
Thank you. And that brings us to call to the public. It's now time for call to the public, which allows citizens with an opportunity to speak on any issue within the legal authority and jurisdiction of the town of Payson. The town must abide by Arizona open meeting law, and this agendized item is the public's opportunity to be heard at this meeting. When called to speak, please approach the podium, speak towards the microphone so your statements can be heard. Give us your name. The town requests that you address your comments to the council as a whole. If you're speaking on an agenda item from today's meeting, you can wait until after that specific item is presented to speak, or you may state your comments now. Call to the public is regulated by time, place, and manner restrictions, and you cannot speak more than once at this meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. You may not donate your time. Purpose of this meeting is to conduct town business. Speakers and the audience shall refrain from conduct that disrupts or interferes with the orderly conduct of this meeting, including clapping, cheering, or booing. If this disrupts the meeting and inhibits free speech rights, any person who engages in disruptive conduct may be removed or barred from the meeting if the person refuses to stop. So with that said, Tom Dunning.
I'm Tom Dunning. I'm a 21-year resident of Payson. I'm glad to see that there's going to be a discussion of the pool on the agenda tonight, because the people have a right to know. The process of refurbishing Taylor Pool should be a process that is open and understandable and transparent for the folks of Payson, so that we don't buy a pig in a poke. Not only that, we would like to see the RFP, the actual description of the work to be done, the amount of money that it's going to cost, and whether or not all of the needed refurbishments will be done. The council can make this something that is open and accessible and understandable to the people of Payson. At this point, it's the beginning of the process, but I'm just asking, and the people of our town, I'm sure, want to know how it's being done and how much it's going to cost and what the final result will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Lockwood?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Pat Lockwood. I've been a resident of Payson since 2021. I currently live in Chaparral Pines. I'm a concerned citizen asking the Town of Payson Council to understand the concerns of a significant number of property owners who may be negatively impacted by the request to change the zoning on tax parcel 30223.041 from commercial C2 to mining and extraction for Payson Concrete. I, along with many others, attended a recent citizen participation meeting at Payson Concrete's office. It was on Wednesday, July 22nd. There were more than 100 people in attendance, far in excess of the 15 to 20 people that I believe Payson Concrete staff had anticipated. Despite the information shared at that meeting, my neighbors and I continue to be alarmed at the scope and nature of the project. The venue was inadequate for the number of attendees, leaving most of us with unanswered questions. Among our concerns are the exact nature of the proposed commercial development, the amount of material to be extracted, and the restoration of the natural habitat once the project is complete. And even though Town of Payson staff has told us that the applicant has met their obligations to hold a citizens' participation meeting, we believe that the nature of that meeting generated more questions than it answered and resulted in feelings of inadequate transparency and a fear that resident interests were not being protected. On behalf of my neighbors and me, we are asking the Town of Payson Council to direct Town of Payson staff to strongly encourage Payson Concrete a second meeting that would adequately accommodate the number of concerned residents and to provide transparency and a more comprehensive picture of the project before the permitting even begins. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Decker?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Good. I'm Bob Decker. I'm a citizen of Payson since 2008. Anyway, good afternoon, Mayor, Town Council members, the town government, and everybody here at the meeting today, both in person and online. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bob Decker. I'm a member of the RIM Wildfire Awareness Team. Short for that is RIMWAT. Our mission is to educate people in RIM country on how to prepare their homes and themselves for a wildfire. We started out as a volunteer branch of the fire department, and we're part of the designing of the firing ordinance that came out in 2020 after the bushfire, which burned 193 acres, 455 acres. Remember that one? That was a big one. Helped us pass the ordinance. Anyway, that was the end of town support. We have a fantastic fire department. But every time they have been before several town councils now and asked for funding or support for firewizing our town, they have been denied. And lately, the hardening ordinance to build fire-resistant new construction was also not denied. I've met with the same blank stares from town councils every time I have spoken at these meetings, and I've been doing it for a long time. Honestly, I don't get it. I just don't understand. I've never been a fireman, but since I became involved with the ordinance back in 2019, I've studied wildfires, preparation techniques, related software programs, lectures, symposiums, and most important, learned how firemen think. They're trained to think differently than most of us at this meeting today. They're trained to act rather than react. They're trained to prepare so they know what to do when their primary goal is safety. And I've learned how and what a town should go to prepare for a survival wildfire. And quite frankly, from all that I've learned, we are not prepared. It is time for you all to take responsibility to educate and prepare yourselves and the property around your home, call the fire department for firewise inspections, and most of all, voice your concerns to these people. They work for you. By the way, 97% of the wildfires in Arizona in 2025 happened after July 1st. Don't be fooled. Wildfire season is not over. It's year-round now. Thank you very
Bob.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ralph Townsend?
Come before you this afternoon with an accountability question. When the town of Payson pays dues to the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, and those taxpayer-funded dues being used to protect the people's rights or to protect municipal government revenue and discretion. Are they to protect the people's rights or the municipal government corporation power, revenue, and discretion? The league is not a branch of Arizona, a branch of the government of Arizona. It is not elected by the people of Payson. It represents cities and towns as municipal government, not the voters directly. That distinction matters. The league's agenda often speaks of local control, protecting municipal revenue, but the people must ask, local control by whom? Does local control mean the people through initiatives, referendums, public vote, and consent? Or does it mean councils, managers, attorneys, and municipal associations? When the league lobbies to protect municipal discretion, that may help town administration, but it also weakens direct taxpayer control. Therefore, I'm asking, respectfully, the council do three things. One, publicly review the league's legislative agenda before paying the annual dues. Second, disclose whether league dues, legal services, lobbying, amicus briefs, or anything else is being used to oppose voter-approved measures, taxpayer controls, or initiatives and referendums. Third, refuse to support any league position that weakens the people's right to vote on taxes, fees, debts, leases, property obligations, or voter-approved ordinances. This is not an anti-league position. It's a pro-accountability position. Public money belongs to the people. Public debt burdens the people. Public policy must remain accountable to the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori?
Thank you, council and staff. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I Again, I know there were some other people who wanted to be here, but I know that the pool on the agenda didn't get placed until Monday afternoon. I'm not sure what the reason for that was. Usually changes to agendas only happen if there's an emergency that late in the thing, but I'm glad to be able to talk, and I'm glad to see we are moving on some of these things. We know the importance of a community pool here in Payson. It was part of what the council voted as part of the emergency clause, and the taxes that they created was for swim lessons in our community. We know that drowning is the #1 cause of death for children under 5 and a leading cause for other children. Those with autism, it's the #1 cause. I've been fortunate enough to be able to volunteer my time here in the town to teach some of these kids with autism how to swim, but we know that we have hundreds more that need that. I am just asking that we concentrate on a practical, reasonable pool in this town, something that could be done easily. Again, the companies that turned in bids were some very good companies, but the parameters that they were given were not the most practical, reasonable pool for Payson. We talk about economic impact. That only happens on that pool if we can actually host swim meets. We have middle schoolers that have swam in a number of pools over the last 3 years, even though our team is very small because we don't have room to swim. They have never swam a competition in a 6-lane pool. Cottonwood had a 6-lane pool, the exact design of what we have here in Payson. And what they did is added 2 lanes. That option isn't even considered. Globe, who had a pool that maybe had some plumbing issues and some problems, in fact, we know theirs was pretty bad, was able to put a liner pool in and get it. Our high school team is traveling to Globe as their first meet this year. We have kids who want to swim. Cottonwood swim team, over 200 kids. The Payson Pikes swimming at the Payson pool used to have over 200 kids. This year we have about 45 kids, okay, because that's all we're allowed. And these kids, parents, families want their children to learn how to swim. We need a community pool, but we need to do it in a responsible, reasonable way. I'm just asking that we consider what other towns have done to get this project done. If we want to add a real multi-million-dollar slide in a couple years, great. But let's get water in the pool, get the kids swimming, and make it practical for the town, the families, the seniors, water exercise, and those type of things. I'm just asking that we consider the most practical, reasonable use of the Payson pool. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Jeff Robbins?
Thank you, Council. Jeff Robbins, Payson, Arizona. And buckle up, I got 3 things to talk about. And I gave you copies. There's a town compliance presentation coming up before you shortly. It's a very difficult task for those people after years of neglect in this town to get anything enforced. And in your consent agenda, it says that we're going to share them with Star Valley, which prompted me to go to Star Valley's code. Our town code, as far as compliance, is very convoluted. It's Part 10, and then it moves over to Part 154 in planning. Any reasonable person, it's very hard to see what you're supposed to do. So I would suggest going forward, put that in one document and post it on town website so people know what they're, because I imagine a town compliance officer comes up and goes, hey, and they're going to say, I didn't know. And it's hard for anyone to know because that information is not readily available to the public. And one thing, and during the presentation, the last photo is a dumping lien that was my complaint. Donnie worked with Donnie, and it took 2.5 years, literally 2.5 years to get completed. That is not practical, and that is not reasonable. If that property caught on fire, I doubt the fire department could have put it out. We were at risk health-wise for 2.5 years. So Star Valley, it's $350 for the first violation, $600 for the second, and their process to comply is very quick compared to ours. So I would appreciate if the council looked at that, maybe remodernize that so people would be able to, the town compliance officers can reinforce that. And along those lines, and Mr. Decker, from the town of Kingman, they have a Clean City Commission. And it's before you to read. It's the public, and Brooks' idea. The public can participate in identifying code problems, fire-wise problems. And this commission, Jesse Berry can be part of it. And the commission could help the town identify projects, give recommendations, and identify the problems. I don't think it's a 1 or 1.5 person problem. It would take a team or a village for our town to get in compliance. So it's before you. I'd like you to look at it, and I think it's something our town would benefit to adopt. And and everybody who comes over you with code complaints, including Mr. Decker and a parade of the rest of us, we could participate. And so thank you for your time, and I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Richard Wyand?
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been a 24-year resident here in Payson. I have mostly questions about the concerns of the history of the town council, at least the last 2 years. What I want to know is, and I know you're not going to respond to this, but am I supposed to hit that 3-minute?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, I'm not, I'm a neophyte. But in any case, what I really want to know is, are we going to institute what we did in the last 2 years, some emergencies to circumvent the Payson populace, to make a determination on some bond issue, so that they don't have, that we, are not going to have any kind of consent on the issue of bond issues. My biggest concern, essentially, is that the bond issues could potentially bankrupt this city. And because of that, I'm very concerned about raising of taxes, whether it be property taxes or whether it be sales taxes. So, we have a lot of exigencies here in this town, but I don't think the best way to do this is by taxing and spending. I think the best way we can do that is by attracting business. And I think that there are certain council members and our mayor, our current mayor, who's doing everything in their power to attract business. And that is the way in which to deal with these various things that we need, like paved roads, various safety issues for our community. We don't want to get ourselves involved in so much of just creating terrible debt that we can't get out of. So I'm just looking to see that there's going to be some kind of sound policies that aren't going to bankrupt this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charmaine Gouroulet?
So I'm Charmaine, and I live in Payson, Arizona, and I want to speak to the topic of the American Library Association Bill of Rights. I am aware that it has already been voted on July 8th, 2026. Council members, my brothers and sisters in freedom, in this 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, as well as the very point in time when the first states were beginning to flesh out the precursors to the People's Bill of Rights. I want to bookmark, I want to be a standard bearer for keeping in the forefront the convictions of the Founding Fathers, who in the Declaration of Independence outlined 6 directives for we the people, 2 of which are 5 and 6, directives 5 and 6. 5 being to promote the general welfare, and 6 being to secure liberty for ourselves and our posterity. Because it is human nature to drift, I would like to propose a friendly reminder for our rightful identity, which yields our proper authority and our honorable duty enforced by our divine inheritance. Our divine inheritance, which would be our inalienable, non-transferable, undeniable, God-given rights. On the face of the American Library Association's Bill of Rights, the vote, it looked like it was a vote for intellectual freedom. But at its core, when it was held to our founding precepts, it is a dangerous gateway for undermining the people's will for what is decent and appropriate in the public space. Lest we lose sight of the proper order of things, we are assured constitutionally that all political power is inherent in the people. Agencies, associations, public entities do not have a Bill of Rights, especially one that conflicts with the rights of the people. As stewards and guardians of our precious liberty, it is our duty, it is our directive to prevent agencies, associations, and even, dare I say, public servants from doing what they think is right in their own eyes. Free money is not an excuse to prostitute our community, abdicate our sensibilities and our values, thus sacrificing our children's destinies on the altar of
Your time ran out, I'm sorry.
dependency. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone wish to speak that has not filled out a request to speak form? Seeing none, going to move on to item B, the consent agenda. And the consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. Tonight we have 6 items listed. B1 is the approval of minutes for regular council meetings, June 24, July 8, and the special meeting, June 30. B2 is a resolution number 2026-031, authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Gila County for centralized management of 911 grant funds. B3 is resolution number 2026-033, authorizing the town to apply for drinking water state revolving fund loan from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, and authorizing the taking of all other transactions necessary to consummate this. B4 is resolution number 2026-037, authorizing and approving the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the town of Payson and the town of Star Valley to coordinate the application for community development block grants. B5 is a resolution number 2026-038, adopting fair housing policy, making known the town of Payson's commitment to the principles of fair housing, and describing actions the town of Payson will undertake to affirmatively further fair housing. And B6, resolution number 2026-039, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Star Valley for code enforcement services. Ask for a motion and a second to approve these consent items.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I'll call for a vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Number C, current events presentation by the town manager, mayor, and/or council member. Darren?
You got anything?
I don't.
Just me?
Just you.
Okay.
Or council, maybe.
Well, actually, we've all been pretty busy. I do want to bring to council's attention that starting the 24th of this month will be all of our ad campaigns start kicking in. So you'll start seeing them with the Diamondbacks. You'll start seeing them with ASU. This year we purchased on-site ASU since we were going after that younger market with the bicycles and the hiking and the camper. So we purchased ads at their cash machines. We purchased them inside of the library study areas. They're real, bikes, and they're a good job. The girls did a really good job. And then I also, a week ago, a few of us, Brandon and I, attended the Arizona City County Managers Association, which I can't remember which one I told you, but I think it was the best one I've ever attended. I think that the people that they had that were speaking, and as volatile as our industry is right now with politics and being political season, there was just some really good speakers that said basically everybody's in the same boat. You're not going through anything different than anybody else isn't. So it was nice to hear from the others. Brandon and I also went through at NAU a public service academy. And what that one was, and that was just a one-dayer, but that was other mayors and state officials that just spoke about different ideas and things that they were doing in their communities. We spent a lot of time on AI and how that's being used. And then we also spoke on, and I brought this up to Matt and Christina, an AI policy, which we don't have currently, that we need to consider bringing up, because as we use it more and more, it needs to be stressed to especially staff, just to be very, very careful of what you're using it for. Also, I sent to you guys a few different things that the creative team has also been doing, but the International County City Managers Association has a national convention every year, and this year the national convention's it's an international convention. This year it's in Long Beach. And each year they select anywhere from a half a dozen to a dozen communities to highlight throughout the nation of the United States this year. And this year, Payson was chosen. It's really cool. So what it will be is our video, which I think is about 6 minutes long, and then there's one that's also 30 seconds long, but that will be playing throughout the whole 4 days that the convention is going on, above us and at certain ICMA booths, and then, of course, in the Arizona booth. It'll be playing all the time. So I'm going, I'm the only one going, but I was pretty excited about that. I've heard of one other place. I think Bisbee was selected about 4 or 5 years ago, but otherwise the only one's in Arizona. So, and a great big huge congrats to Steve and to Anna Van Zandt for their 2.7 Anna Van Zyl.
Yeah.
For their 2.7 to, actually it's a 2.9 million grant, but we have to kick in a little. So good for them, for our trailheads. That is a huge thing. So that's all I got, Mayor. Some good stuff though.
So can I talk about our encroachment paperwork going to ADOT about the corridor between here and Star Valley, or is that?
We could ask, Nathan knows the most about that. If you want to ask him.
I'd like to.
So
Just the paperwork you did.
I'm gonna just say that this agenda.
Oh, it's not
item
agendized, sorry.
Is for the mayor, the council members, or the manager to
Yeah.
give presentations.
Sorry.
Not to necessarily question the staff or from the staff, but if it's something one of you wants to discuss, you can. And then if you want to direct someone to come back to answer additional questions at a future meeting, you can do that as well.
Okay, well, staff has been asked to approach ADOT about an encroachment situation to allow placements of a couple signs in the corridor between Star Valley and Payson. And we've had discussions that if ADOT grants us the encroachment rights, that we will take contingency money out of the council's budget and buy the signs to go in that corridor, trying to get people to recognize the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. The situation between the two towns is out of control. We've got people driving 70 miles an hour or faster in that area, and we just need some wake-up calls. So
it's the automated speed warning signs.
Yeah, I'm sure the
Yeah.
manager has heard your concerns and he'll address it. The staff, and if you want him to bring it back to you, he will put it on a future agenda, or he can just discuss with the staff and get together.
We're just
with
waiting
all-
on ADOT.
For me, it's, you know, ADOT's the final arbiter in this. If they say, yes, we'll grant the encroachment, then we need to move forward. If ADOT says, no, we're not going to, then it's a moot issue. But I think it's important that we take measures to get the traffic situation on 260 under control. Anything else from council?
No, I just wanted to bring up, wasn't it about a week ago, this last Saturday, that Rimwat, APS, and Red Cross had I don't know what you call it, symposium at the library. And I thought there was a lot of good presentations made there about, you know, the firewizing, you know, wildfires, you know, safety precautions, you know, looking into them, and the fact that, you know, it is fire seasons, you know, year round. And I just thought it was a good presentation. Wish that more residents and people would have been there, but I thought they did a good job.
Anything else?
I'll just give one brief update. Parks and Rec had their commission meeting, and I go to those meetings once, I think it's once a quarter. And they had a jam-packed agenda. I couldn't even stay for the whole meeting because it was so long. I had to get home to kids and whatnot. But one of the things that the Parks and Rec commissioner was talking to staff about, and the rest of the commission, that I thought was just eye-opening, was how lucky Payson is for how many activities and things that especially the town offers, but other nonprofits offer. I think a lot of times we get caught up in all the negative of, you know, what Payson doesn't have and different things we want and more activities, but more often than not, we as parents have to sit down and make decisions on what activities we're going to go to that week for our kids and what family events we're going to go to, which was just, you know, kind of eye-opening because I hadn't even thought about the fact that we do have to do that, at least in my family. And, you know, some of the events that staff was doing didn't have the attendance that they typically would hope that it would, and that was one thing that was pointed out is, well, you've done such a good job at offering so many different activities for so many different viewpoints and ages that you're not going to have, you know, it's not back in the day when you had one event once a week and you had to go to it. There's a lot more options. So well done to staff and the rest of the community for the nonprofits and youth organizations that do offer a lot for the community.
Yeah, if you just look at the library schedule.
Yeah, jam-packed.
Well, Dogs and I went to the park today over the lunch hour, and in combination with their spectacular work and the rains we've been getting, Park looks fantastic. It absolutely is everything we could hope for. Looks like on the Bear area where that building was torn down, they're taking measures to regrow grass there. And
A few areas, I think they have been raking and seeding.
yep, and it's, people are noticing, it's just a good look, and park was freshly mowed today. The grass is thicker. It just looks good. So I just want to commend Parks for
Good, I
just
will pass
keep
it on.
pushing it on and getting more and more attention to that park, and because that is, in my opinion, that's our crown jewel.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that said, let's move on to item D, ceremony announcements, presentations, introductions. D1, presentation by Woda Cooper, funding regarding low-income housing income tax credit, LIHTC project. Woda Cooper.
Do they have a presentation? Do we need it, I wonder? Oh, okay. What this is basically,
This
it-
is not the.
Okay. We don't want to do it all at the same time?
Yes, let me remember which one it was. Which was the?
H1 is the other one.
D1 and H1.
So D1 and H1, okay. Can we do them at the same time?
Yeah, you have the discretion
Yeah.
to make that call as the mayor.
Thank you.
While she's doing that, you guys approved earlier in March funding, tax breaks, and what else? Sales tax rebate. And then waivers in fees. So what staff needs basically is where for us to take that money because we didn't budget it. So this year, what you're probably looking at is $100,000 is what we're looking at, because I don't think they'll probably get to all the spending and all the everything else, maybe the fee waivers. But my idea is to take it out of the council contingency. So you have $250,000 sitting there that you can use for anything. So it'd be my recommendation. I think this is a really good to put it into affordable housing makes a lot of sense. So staff basically is looking for an action to tell us where to take the money from.
And that's the H1.
That's the H1, and we can combine it together. You've already approved these things. You approved them in March so that they could apply for their grant. So now I just need directive when they come and ask for the money where we can take it from.
So the sales tax waiver, is that a cash outlay, or is that a deferral when they actually do the project and the sales tax?
From my understanding, that's a reimbursement.
A reimbursement. So they incur the sales tax and we reimburse them. So that's not something that's going to come due in the next couple of months?
No, I think you've got a ways to go before you.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, start
And I'll touch on
buying
the
pieces
timeline.
of lumber.
Okay, but we don't have, the $100,000 we have to come up with directly.
As soon as they ask for it.
As soon as they ask for it. The sales tax waiver is as they're buying product.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that.
But we would like directive for you just to say, you know, so we don't have to come back to you. If it does come to that next spring, that we can go ahead and just take it from that fund.
I think that's a good use of that fund.
So let's,
We need a motion.
yeah, we need a motion.
On H,
Okay.
that's H1 then, correct?
Yeah,
You want him to do his presentation first?
either way, well, we're doing this now, so if we could just.
Do you move, Jim? Your motion?
Oh, yeah, I would make the motion to approve the funds from the council contingency funds for what we had already approved for. I'm trying to think of the name of the, well, for the apartments, for the.
Woda Cooper.
Yeah.
Wooded
Yeah.
Copper.
And
so that's my motion.
And that's for $190,000.
Not to exceed 190,000.
Oh, yeah, okay, not to exceed 190,000.
I second the motion.
Second. Call for a vote. H1 passes 7-0. Now, for your presentation, sir. Now we've offered the money.
Yeah.
Exactly. So my name's Omer Sarig. I work for Woda Cooper. We're a vertically integrated developer, general contractor, property manager. Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council, greatly appreciate your continued support throughout our development. We're excited to announce that we have been given a reservation of tax credits from the Arizona Department of Housing. When we had presented to you all back in March, we had made a promise that we would be updating our architectural designs and that we would be coming back to present it to you all and give an update on our timeline. So first of all, wanted to provide a little bit of background on the process that we went through. So the Arizona Department of Housing receives tax credits from the federal government. It's allocated to each individual state as a proportion of their total population. This past year, there were 34 total applications to the state. It's a highly competitive process, and there are only so few applications that are lucky enough to be awarded. So of the 37 total applications, 11 of these were awarded, and 4 of these were in rural counties in Arizona. So the state considers anything outside of Maricopa or Pima County as a rural county. So with that being said, Payson was, and this project was one of those selected for this award. So with that, we will be moving forward with this development, and we wanted to give you all some more context on our proposed community, which is to be right across the street here, 409 Beeline Highway, right next to the Bison Cove condos, and just give you a little bit more information on the unit types that we're proposing, the target population that we see residing in this community, and kind of our next steps as we move forward in the process. So first of all, just really wanted to thank you all. The state puts out a very highly competitive scoring criteria and challenges developers to go into communities that have a strong need for this sort of housing. You know, especially in Payson, it's very applicable in that housing crisis was announced in the past few years. So we know that there is a strong need for this sort of housing, and really just want to express a great amount of appreciation for the support that Council provided for us back in March for our application, and with your approval today. Without the town's buy-in, these sort of projects would not come into fruition. It is on our part to locate land and go through entitlement processes, but it really is the town's support which is what brings this project to fruition, and ultimately the housing that is so needed. So just to give a broad overview of our timeline, so currently we're working through due diligence. So we had initially done a geotechnical report. We're getting additional soil borings. We're also having our civil engineer and the surveying crew produce an ALTA survey. We are working through environmentals. All of that being said, we will be working in conjunction of that with the town to submit our plans as they develop for permits. At the same time, we are working to solicit both debt and equity partners to bring the capital stack of the project together. We've already received interest on both the debt and equity side. So we plan to have all of this closed by the end of 2026, then plan to break ground beginning of 2027. We anticipate roughly a 14-month construction period with pre-leasing beginning 30 to 60 days before placement in service, and in that time, we'll have our management team come out here, lease temporary office space to begin that pre-leasing process. Also, we'll be working with local eviction lawyers and the like. So really wanted to first dig into our site plan, slight revisions from what we had presented to you all back in March. So we are looking at 74 total units with a mix of 19 one-bedroom units at 725 square feet each, 39 two-bedroom units at 900 square feet each, and 16 three-bedroom units at 1125 square feet each. And I'll show in a later slide the actual unit plans for each bedroom type. All that being said, we're also incorporating 114 parking spaces meeting the Town of Payson's development regulations. We'll be going underground for stormwater on this. That parking ratio is a little bit over 1.5, which is both compliant with Payson's regulations and also preferable from a management perspective. So biggest revisions from what we had presented back in March, we shifted some of the outdoor amenities towards the east end of the site. So we're going to have a fenced-in playground, a covered seating area with barbecue grills, and that will be strategically placed to the east of the site, far away from Beeline Highway, to minimize noise and maximize privacy. That being said, we're also intending on incorporating evergreen shrubs, coniferous plants, other local plants and landscaping standards to Payson's regulations, having them protected by curbs to maximize water absorption as well. So also wanted to touch on the demographic and the target population that we're intending with this community. So we really see this as a workforce community targeting those working in and around Payson. We have a majority of our units, we have a breakdown of 30%, 50%, and 60% of area median income, which equates to a range of $20,000 to $58,000 in annual income a year. So we will have 13 units offered at 30% of area median income. We'll have 37 units, a majority of our units, at 50% of area median income, and 24 units at 60% of area median income. We see our rental ranges going from $400 to $950 a month, and that is net rent, not including utility expenses. So some potential roles that we see, occupations that we see of potential residents is, employment with the county, court admin assistants, code enforcement specialists, drivers for medical transportation managements, part-time admin specialists at the community college here in Gila County. So, we really see a strong workforce as making up the majority of the population here at the community, at the Union Park Lofts community. I know it was asked back when we presented in March where we anticipated that most of this population would be coming from. And kind of reviewing our market study that we hired a third party for, we anticipate a majority of the tenants coming from Payson, Strawberry, Pine, and Star Valley. We don't anticipate, any residents coming from further beyond that, Phoenix or any of the like. So just wanted to add on some additional amenities that are included in the building. We're going to have 2 elevators serving the 74 units. It will be a 4-story building. We'll also have an integrated community room and fitness center. We'll also have a laundry room that'll feature 4 washers and 4 dryers for use of the residents. In each unit, we will have washer and dryer hookups should a resident want to bring their own washer and dryer in, but we will also provide the community laundry room. So I wanted to give a bit of an update on our architectural design, very much revamped from what we had presented back in March. Really wanted to tie in with the nature and mountain aspect of Payson and kind of tie in with our color choices here. We went for more of a warmer wood accented panel color. We're including materials such as stone veneer, lap siding, fiber cement panels. We'll have both fronting on Beeline Highway and also towards the parking lot in the back of the community. We'll have entrances with a lodge style gable canopy opening to act as a focal point and be a warm entryway into the community. So as mentioned, here is a bit of an overview of the unit plans that we'll have. So the 1-bedroom, 1-bath, the 2-bed, 1-bath, and the 3-bed, 2-bath. Really had a lot of discussions, kind of our team. We work very much integrated with our construction team, with our management team, and also with our principal and owner. Really wanted to emphasize open space. If you look at each floor plan, we opted to go for larger units than our typical standard, wanting to have with a lot of open space in each unit type. We also like to go for a lot of counter space for individuals when cooking. We see that as a large priority. Actually had instances where we've gone to properties and interviewed residents and asked for their feedback on the layouts of our units, implemented that in our design as well. We really wanted to thank you again for your support. Wanted to make good on our promise back in March and give you all an update on where we were at, give you all confirmation that the support that we are receiving from you all is going to a good cause. It is going to develop this needed housing, and wanted to show you all that we've taken your feedback into consideration in altering our site layout and our architectural design as well. So with that, I'll take any questions.
So you're looking at a March 2028 to begin leasing?
Yes.
You said 14 months?
Yeah, because it would be, we're looking at potentially breaking ground January, February, 14-month construction period, then would put us at around, March to begin leasing. And we had previous discussions that we would be working with the town, kind of in advertising to potential residents. So we are very happy to do so and would like to continue those efforts.
I guess this is just, I don't know if it's so much a question or what, but I know the town has a height restriction. And has that been addressed with everybody and
Sure,
your copacetic in that particular area?
We've worked extensively with Nicole in the planning department, and the 4 stories we are proposing does meet the C2 development regulations. We are also, the biggest consideration and the biggest conversations we were having with her is meeting the maximum lot coverage aspects, which I believe is at 40% of the total lot. So we are meeting that development standard, and we are in compliance with Payson's regulations.
Okay. And access to the apartments will be on a railing on the inside of the L, or do you have interior doors going to the apartments?
Yes, we have interior doors into each of the units.
Okay.
We'll have an entryway into the community, both on Beeline Highway and to the back facing the parking lot. Once you come in, you walk into the community space, the leasing office, and then you have 2 elevators to access each of the individual units.
Okay, okay.
But it will be completely enclosed, not open breezeway or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you all so
for
much.
the update.
Thank you. With that being D2, code enforcement presentation by Code and Compliance Specialist Tiffany Brown Cockcroft. Good evening.
Alrighty. So I kind of speak loud, so I'm going to kind of stand back a little bit, so I apologize now. I'm recording. Okay, well, I talk loud, so should be able to hear me. All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Tiffany Brown Cockcroft, the town's code enforcement for community development. Today, I would like to provide an overview of code enforcement, which is including what code enforcement is, what we enforce, and what falls outside of our authority, how violations are identified, the enforcement process, and why that process matters. Understanding code enforcement isn't about what we do. It's about understanding why we do it the way we do. All right. So the big picture and at its core, code enforcement focuses on exterior conditions, uses of property that impacts the community, not interiors, not personal preferences, not HOA level aesthetics. We deal with what can be seen, what affects the neighbors, what impacts health, safety, and welfare. What we enforce, real world conditions. What we are looking at is not subjective. It is clearly defined. It meets the code definition and we act. If it does not, we do not have the authority to intervene. The line is what protects both the community and individual property rights. These are some of the type of violations we encounter. Inoperable or junk vehicles. Vehicles with flat tires, missing parts, or visible damage that renders them inoperable. Expired or missing registration or license plates. Vehicles that appear abandoned or have not moved for an extended periods. Vehicles stored in yards or visible areas that are not operational. Junk, trash, and debris. Discarded furniture, appliances, household items stored outdoors. Construction debris, scrap materials, or broken equipment. Items scattered throughout the yards, driveways, or along fence lines. Storage of materials in ways that creates blight or safety concerns. Overgrown vegetation, weeds or grasses exceeding the allowable height, typically over 24 inches. Vegetation creating fire hazard. Lack of general maintenance leading to overgrowth. Unpermitted construction, structures built without required permits, additions such as carports, large sheds, patios, enclosures without approval, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, or structural work completed without inspection or permits, construction that may not meet safety or setback requirements. RV occupancy violations, RVs being used as permanent or long-term living spaces, active utility connections such as water, electrical, and sewer hookups. Visible signs of habitation such as furniture, coverings, and other regular activity. RVs located outside approved RV parks or without approved temporary use or active building permit. Illegal signage in business activities, signs installed without required permits, signs placed in a public right-of-way, portable or temporary signs not allowed under the town code. Businesses operating without a business license or occupancy per rule. These are not hypothetical scenarios. These are the types of conditions we see on a regular basis in the field. Each of these examples is tied to a specific section in the town code that defines and constitutes a violation. codes that we enforce are Chapter 91, specifically nuisance and property maintenance. Chapter 150, building regulations. Chapter 153, tree regulations. Chapter 154, zoning, or as we all know it, the Unified Development Code. And Chapter 110, business regulations, licensing and occupancy requirements. These adopted codes are publicly available on the town's website. So what falls outside of code enforcement? Code enforcement does not enforce interior conditions of the home, personal disputes between neighbors, private CC&Rs, deed restrictions or HOA rules, personal preferences or opinions, barking dog complaints, routine traffic or parking violations. Examples, I don't like their yard decor. This is not a town code violation. Their house is an ugly color. Not a town code violation. Their fence does not match mine. Not a code violation. They're violating the HOA or deed restrictions. That is a private matter and not enforced by code enforcement. There must be a violation of the town code before code enforcement has the authority to take action. So let's start talking a little bit about CC&R deed restrictions and town code. And let's clarify some common misunderstandings. CC&Rs, or covenant conditions or restrictions, or other deed restrictions, are private agreements that are recorded against the property and remain with the land, regardless of the owner. In many neighborhoods, these restrictions are administered and enforced by homeowners associations, or HOAs. Although not every property has a deed restriction, it's part of an HOA. These private restrictions commonly address architectural standards, landscaping, fencing, parking, and other neighborhood requirements. They are often more restrictive than the town code. Town code, on the other hand, is a public law adopted by the town of Payson to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. It is applied consistently and equally throughout the town. Code enforcement enforces town code, not private CC&R and deed restrictions. Now, let's talk about how cases actually begin. Violations are identified in three primary ways. Complaint-driven cases, which make up the majority of our workload. These complaints may come from residents, other town departments, or other outside agencies. Officer observation while in the field. These include violations observed while conducting inspections, traveling between calls, or responding to other cases. Limited proactive enforcement. These typically are focused on key corridors, areas of community concern, or a specific initiative approved by the town. Nearby properties may be observed in similar violations to ensure fairness.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
On the complaint-driven cases, which make up the majority of our workload, how many complaints on average does it take for you all to go out and look at that property?
Just one.
Just one complaint? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
This helps ensure we apply the code fairly, consistently, rather than focusing on a single property. Fairness and consistency. Why is this important? To ensure we are applying town code fairly consistently throughout the community, to avoid selective enforcement, to protect the integrity enforcement process. This protects the town, the process, and the community as a whole. Now let's get into the legal fit framework of code enforcement. Code enforcement operates within legal framework established by the United States Constitution, Arizona Constitution, Arizona Revised Statutes, primarily Title IX, and the Town of Payson Town Code. These laws provide the authority to define the responsibilities and protect the constitutional rights of the property owners throughout the enforcement process. Constitutional protections directly shape how we operate in the field. We are bound by the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable search and seizures. The 14th Amendment, which guarantees due process and equal protection under the law. What does this mean in practice? We cannot enter private property without consent or legal authority. We must observe violations from lawful vantage points, such as a public street, sidewalk, or right-of-way. We must provide proper notice and reasonable opportunity to comply. We must apply the law fairly and consistently, and we must ensure every enforcement action is supported by facts, evidence, and applicable law. Which kind of brings us into curtilage. Now, one of the most important constitutional concepts we apply in code enforcement is curtilage. Curtilage refers to the areas immediately surrounding the home that is considered part of the home's private living space and is protected by the Fourth Amendment. The area has some constitutional protections against unreasonable searches as the home itself. So what does that mean in code enforcement? It means we must observe the violation lawful vantage points, such as public streets, sidewalk, or right-of-way. We do not enter backyards, climb fences, look through windows, enter enclosed areas without consent or legal authority. We cannot legally observe the violation. We do not have the authority to enforce it. Which brings us to the process. So, every case follows the same structured process. The complaint is received, investigation conducted, notice of violation issued, compliance period, reinspection, escalation if needed. There is no shortcuts in this process. The complaint intake and research is step one. The complaint is logged into the system. Ownership is verified through available records such as deed, assessor information, or title records. The property is then researched for permit history, prior zoning violations, zoning designation, and any other relevant background information. This step takes time, but it is critical for accuracy and legal defensibility. Step two, investigation. The initial investigation is generally conducted within 5 business days. Observations are made from a lawful public locations, photos and documentation are collected. All observations comply with constitutional protections. Notice of violation. If a violation is confirmed, a formal notice of violation is issued. The notice is mailed and clearly explains what the violation is, the code that it applies, and what needs to be corrected. The deadline for compliance, which is typically 30 days unless circumstances require otherwise. The notice must be clear enough that a reasonable person understands what needs to be done to correct the issue. Step 4, the compliance period. This part is the process that people often do not see. Once notice is given, the property owner is provided time to correct the violation. If the property owner is making reasonable progress, we work with them. This may include granting extensions, adjusting deadlines, delaying court action when appropriate. The goal simply is compliance, not punishment. Step 5. After the compliance period, the property is re-inspected. If the violation has been corrected, the case is closed. If there has been no progress, the case moves forward in the enforcement process. Which brings us to the escalation. If compliance is still not achieved, the case may move to an additional enforcement, which can include a final notice, a civil citation, court proceedings, and abatement. Where the town corrects the violation, where authorized, may recover the cost by placing a lien against the property. In most cases, abatement is the town's last resort. Property owners are giving notice, an opportunity to comply, and then when necessary, the court process before the town considers correcting the violation itself. However, when an immediate threat to public and health and safety exists, the town may take a prompt action as authorized by law. Why does this take time? Code enforcement takes time because due process is required. Documentation must be complete. Property owners must be given an opportunity to comply. This is not a delay. This is due process. Why don't we just fine people? This is one of the most common questions we receive. Code enforcement is not designed to lead by penalties. It is designed to achieve compliance. Fines alone do not correct the violations. In many cases, they create resistance rather than cooperation, and if used too early, may actually weaken the enforcement case. Many property owners are not intentionally violating the town code. Many have been unaware of the requirements, misunderstand them, or simply need time to correct the issue. Our approach is to provide clear notice, explanation of the violation, and provide reasonable opportunity. When residents understand what is required, most correct the violation without need for additional enforcement. When voluntary compliance is not achieved, we move forward with enforcement process. Our goal, again, is not punishment. Our goal is lasting compliance. Balanced approach. Not every violation is intentional. Many cases involve financial hardship, age or disability, limited resources, or the lack of understanding the town code itself. Because of that, our approach is not just enforcement. It is also education, guidance, and connecting residents with available resources whenever appropriate. Okay. So, we continue to develop the programs such as the Clean to Compliance, community cleanup events, and other initiatives that encourage voluntary compliance and neighborhood pride. Our goal is to be viewed as a resource, not something to fear, while continuing to uphold community standards. Because enforcement alone does not always solve the problem. Long-term compliance is achieved through accountability, education, and support. In closing, code enforcement is not about control. It is about balance. Balancing property rights, balancing community standards, balancing legal requirements. We are not here to punish. We are here to ensure fair, consistent, and lawful compliance. Every step we take is designed to hold up legally, ethically, consistently, and our ultimate goal is for a safer, cleaner community for everyone. Compliance works best when it is achieved, not forced. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
So I have one.
Oh, jeez.
I do. If a home has habitability issues with, say, no electricity, no running water, who goes after and mitigates that problem on the interior of the home?
So funny you say that. With the IPMC that is going to be presented to you guys, that would give me a little bit more bite.
Under which part of it?
The ICC, International Property Maintenance,
Okay.
which would give me a little bit more opportunity to be able to address those kind of situations.
Here we go.
Okay.
So there's no health department standards to use against a property owner that has no water, no electricity?
It is a very difficult process for how our codes are actually adopted. It absolutely does not give me any right to do anything within the interior of a home.
Okay. Thank you.
So Tiffany, thank you. I'm sure your job is not always easy to wear a smile, so thank you. Secondly, my question is, are you, because a few months back, were you part-time? Are you part-time, full-time now?
I'm full-time. We do have a variable hour, or as I call him, my half-time guy.
Okay, so you are solely on
Yes, I am
this.
full-time.
Okay, all right, thank you, I appreciate that.
My question is, so you have a 6-foot fence in the back of a home, and you indicated that you can only view things from the road or right away or whatever, and there's a whole bunch of junk back there, and mice are running around in there, and bugs and all kinds of stuff are back in there, and they're going into other people's property. How do you actually get to view something like that? How do you handle it?
So it depends on the fence. If it's a privacy fence, I mean, I've got to have probable cause. I could possibly apply for an administrative warrant in order to do that. In many cases, I will have neighboring property owners that will request that we come to their yard to take a look at the concern, at which point I will have them do a disclaimer advising them that they are allowing me to enter their property to take this evidence. So that way they are aware that these photos I take will be presented to the, you know, to the neighbor if we have to go to court, so they would know.
Okay. And I guess another question, and maybe this is directed at staff maybe, is over the last, I've attended meetings here prior to being elected. There's a lot of individuals have come in front of the council and indicated that there's problems in certain sections of town. And I don't know if staff here make a note of that and report that, or how does that get taken care of when we have community members coming in here and saying, hey, look, you know, we got this area that's not doing well. How do we deal with that?
I just need to know.
Well, I mean, people say it here.
Yeah, if they give an address, we pass it on. I pass it on to Donnie, is who I pass it on.
Okay. That's my question.
Okay.
I'm satisfied. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Good. Even though there's junk in the front yard, I mean, it's bad. And the only way to get a closer inspection is you'd have to have the court give you a warrant to
To enter onto the private property.
to enter onto the property.
Yes.
The other thing, it seems like there's parts of town that have old motor homes, you know, whatever that had been set up, their residences. Those structures probably had a 20 to 30-year lifespan as it was, and now you're looking at 60, 70 years later, and you got siding coming off and insulation sticking through, or what? I mean, is there anything that can be done, or is there any way that certain properties are flagged somewhere that if there's gonna be a transfer of ownership, something can be done that would, you know, whether you condemn the property, you know, because of all the code violations, or what can be done to start to improve?
So are you talking more aesthetic kind of situations where the siding is falling off, or are you?
What I would just think that, you know, just fire and building code violations would exist. And that, you know, if those properties are gonna transfer, that maybe we would have an opportunity, and I would think maybe have a very good opportunity, maybe to purchase the property, raise the property, you know, have put a manufactured home in and resell it, just to get that urban renewal going. And by that, you know, would affect the value of the next property. It would just keep encouraging that whole neighborhood to improve.
That's a very interesting concept, absolutely. As it stands right now, we do not have anything in place for such things.
We are doing that on one piece of property in town right now.
Okay.
I think your Councilmember Ferris, where that changes happen is when the use of the property changes, because that's when they have the ability, if you have a legal non-conforming use, as many of those cases are because they developed before we had the code standards that we have in effect today. When they go to change that use is when the new standards can be applied. So it's not necessarily when the property changes hands, but when somebody wants to do something different with that property outside of the condemnation process. That's always an option.
I can understand where something that's been grandfathered, you know, you can't make a new and then go back. But once that property changes, like what my understanding, there's places that you can have certain kinds of animals, agricultural animals on it. But once that property transfers, that grandfather, you know, doesn't transfer with the property.
It does transfer. The use is really what governs that. They'd have to change the use of it. So if it was the example that always comes out, right, is a hog farm. If it was a hog farm, it can continue as a hog farm. Right. But when they go to change it to something else, I don't know what that would be, but something other than agricultural, that's when the new standards would apply.
That really ties a town, a community's hands from upgrading property and getting a vicious good cycle going rather than negative.
Years ago, we used to, they would do CDBG funding and grants for that. Is that still something that's an option? Because we do, in all reality, we have a lot of low-income people, people with health issues, and I'm dealing with someone right now who's in Rim Country Health, and she has no family here, so her properties become very overgrown, and we just had to take care of it for her because we didn't want someone to report her to you. But in all reality, I mean, and she's very low income. So in all reality, sometimes you can't do those things. You know, I just, is there any more of that funding available? And I know we use CDBG funds for other things now, but not so much for this, correct?
Correct. Correct.
And here comes Donnie. She's going to answer that question for me.
And we don't get the money we used to get out of CDBG.
I know.
Yes, Darren's correct. That is the main reason we don't do the housing rehab program. Because of the requirements from CDBG, the extent of the rehab is usually 60 to 80,000 because once you get in there, you have to do so many things. You can't just fix one
thing.
So when we're only getting 160,000, you might be able to do 2 houses.
Right. That makes sense. That does make sense.
Well, Star Valley would give us theirs.
Yeah, that would be so helpful. That would be a fair trade.
So one thing,
completely fair. Completely fair.
The
All in
Star Valley
favor.
city managers
Yes,
sitting right
I
here.
see 'em.
All right, so one thing I did want to, mention, because you had mentioned something like that, is I have taken upon myself to try and do some kind of program that is specifically in code enforcement's hands, but it would be more of, it's the clean to compliance. So it's going to be more rounded towards disabled, people in really low income situations, just like you said,
right,
where the owners could come to us, apply for what is essentially a grant, depending on what it's going to be, how much it's going to be. The owner would then get 3 bids from contractors that have a town of business license, and they can get these bids, and we fill out the paperwork, and depending on how much it is, what can do, we're still kind of in the whole money part, but for a really lame example is, let's say the contractor says, this property is going to cost us $4,000 to get into compliance.
Right.
Okay, clean up the junk, clean up the weeds, take the old cars off there, you know what I'm saying? And the owner only qualifies for 2,000 of it. Right. Then we would pay the 2,000, they would still have to come up with 2,000, but it's still half. But let's say that same property, he says it's 2,000. Well, there, it's paid for.
Right.
Done.
Right.
And it's a one-time thing for the property. The whole idea is to try to keep that compliance going, not let this be like a resource that they keep coming back to. It's a one and done.
Right. No, I think it's a necessity. That's going to be a necessity. So thank you. You're welcome.
No.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Should be pretty easy though. But first, I will say, as somebody who has received code compliance recommendations, you guys are doing, not recommendations, code compliance issues. You guys are doing a great job. So
Thank you.
That's actually how I met Donnie. I was out of code compliance.
You were, huh? Like
Well,
you're.
I may or may not have made it into your slide presentation. Not me, but one of my buildings. It was my tenants. But
got it.
but to your point, in every situation that I did receive a code compliance issue, it was simply I didn't know. It was just I wasn't always happy about it, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to, be a pain. And I think I would hope that's the case more often than not. Obviously, I'm sure you have some difficult ones, which is my first question, just kind of out of curiosity. How are you typically received? I mean, are you ran off the properties with pitchforks? Are people okay with it? I mean, just
depends on the day.
It's the smile. Yeah, but it's hard to be mean to her when she smiles at you first thing. Right? It's easier.
Perfect. Do you typically help connect property owners, maybe, you know, older population or people that don't have the funding? You know, do you connect them with or point them in the direction of people like Keep Payson Clean, Just Serve, kind of some of those local groups, or is it completely on the homeowners and property owners to figure it out?
We try really hard to provide them resources when available, give them some options, have them reach out. You know, the bottom line is, I don't want to fine anybody.
Right.
You know, I want them to be able to clean the property on their own.
Right. That makes
and feel
sense.
proud about it.
What would you say is Payson's biggest issue with code compliance, and how can we as a council better support to
You want
address
me
that
to want
issue?
one?
Just in general. I mean, you have a whole list. I'm curious, like, where are we lacking the most?
Sorry. Well, I mean, honestly, it's the junk trash debris. Ultimately, that's what it really boils down to. Next in line would probably be building without permits.
With the junk, have you found that if we do, you know, like a neighborhood dumpster, that those are effective, or do they just
They
get filled
are
with?
actually effective in most cases. Like I will I will absolutely tell people that I have code violations when these community cleanups are going to take place, to give them the opportunity to utilize the dumpster to get rid of their junk. And some use it, others do not.
And we have had some take advantage of that from other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
call about that one. So. Not me. Somebody pretending to be me. No, it's true.
Members.
Just curiosity, how much do we have a community cleanup with the dumpsters throughout the year, and what part of towns are those in?
So typically, I was doing it at local churches. However, what was happening is we were having a lot of issues with people dumping just outside the dumpsters in these churches' parking lots, which made me feel absolutely horrified. So me and the other code enforcement officer would go out and physically clean these parking lots from these people. So what we had done was we've narrowed it down to actual town of Payson-owned properties, typically 2 places. I like to utilize one area by airport. I was utilizing the vacant property on Main Street, but if things change, obviously I'll have to look for a new place. But we are now starting to man those locations to keep that kind of stuff away.
And how many times a year do you have these dumpsters out there?
I try to do a minimum of, like this year we could only do 1. We had a very large clean and lean happen that took a lot from the budget. So we were only able to do 1 this year, but I actually try to do at least twice a year.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get into hearings and appeals, I think it's time to take a little break. We've been here an hour and a half. Is 15 minutes enough, Megan, or do we need more than that?
That's too much.
That's too much? 10 minutes?
5 minutes?
How about as soon as the council's back in here
Yeah.
and Megan's back, and Tracy.
We're in recess for 10 minutes.
Now we're on. That's
Okay.
better. The Department of Liquor sent notice of the application to my office on July 20th. The notice of public hearing has been posted at the location for the required 20 days, and now the council must make a recommendation to the Department of Liquor.
Okay. Are there any public comments? Are there any on Zoom?
On Zoom.
Public comments, hearing none. I close the public hearing. Is there any council discussion? Hearing none, I'm asking for a motion and a second to approve the application for a Series 012 restaurant liquor license.
You got him.
Huh?
Just gotta voice it.
Oh,
Yeah. I move to approve the application for a Series 612 restaurant liquor license filed by Mingi Sun, did I butcher it? Agent for AI Asian Bistro and Sushi Bar.
I second the motion.
motion passes 7-0. Item E2, public hearing, possible action concerning approval of an application for a Series 012 liquor license filed by Daniel Kang, agent for Chicken Time, 600 North Beeline Highway, Suite 4, Payson, Arizona. Open the public hearing. Tracy?
The Department of Liquor sent notice of this license to my office on July 20th also. The notice of public hearing's been posted for the required 20 days.
Are there any public comments? Hearing none. Is there anyone on Zoom that wants to comment?
No.
Close the public hearing. Any council discussion? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
I suggest a motion. I move to approve the application for the Series 012 restaurant liquor license filed by Daniel King, agent for Chicken Time.
Second. Second. Motion passes 7-0. Item E3, public hearing, possible action concerning approval of an application for a Series 012 liquor license filed by Richard Stockman, agent for Fargo's 620 East Highway 260, Payson, Arizona. Open a public hearing. Tracy, your turn again.
Department of Liquor sent notice of this application to my office on June 25th. The notice of public hearing has been posted for the required 20 days.
Any public comments? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom? Nope. Close the public hearing. Any council discussion? Seeing none, I ask for a motion to,
I move to approve the application for Series 012 restaurant liquor license filed by Richard Stockman, agent for Fargo's.
I second.
call for a vote. Motion passes 7-0. That's the end of our public hearings.
Wasn't a PBR.
Brings us to item F, resolutions and ordinances. F1, discussion possible action regarding resolution number 2026-0334, approving the form and authorized execution and delivery of a first purchase agreement, a first trust agreement, a continuing disclosure undertaking, an obligation purchase agreement, and other necessary agreements, instruments, and documents, approving the sale and execution delivery of pledged revenue obligation taxable series 2026, evidencing a proportionate interest of the owners thereof in purchase agreement. I need to read this whole thing?
For all purposes, we probably should.
Okay. Got raindrops on my bifocals. Evidence of proportional interest of the owners thereof in purchase agreement. 3, delegating authority to the mayor, the town manager, and the deputy town manager of the town to determine certain terms with respect to the foregoing. Adopting written procedures for compliance with continuing disclosure undertakings. Approving the form of a contingency reserve fund policy and delegating authority to the town manager to complete such policy. Authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution and providing for an effective date of this resolution. Darren, it's your turn for resolution number 2026-034.
Okay. This is your, thank you. This is your decision now. We have the whole crew here from Stifel to answer questions that we have. But basically what we're looking at is we're looking for a directive for you to go ahead and refinance the PSPRS. There's two different, or actually I think there's 3 different options. There's 10-year, 15-year, and then I think they provided you with a 20-year, which I don't think we even need to consider the 20-year. We have always talked about the 10-year. If we go into the 15-year, the only thing that does is it gives us an extra $500,000 a year, basically, is what it does for to pay off that time. So I think both David and Elias think that a 10-year, which is actually 11-year.
11-year, okay.
Is reasonable, and that we can do it, especially with now where you guys set up that 0.88%. If you saw the fund balances in there for the PARs.
Yep.
And that's put in to pay the debt. So, and I know one of the questions has been already, can we pay it off early? The answer to a bond, a 10-year bond, you can't pay it off early. You can pay it off early, say in 5 years, but you have to pay off the total amount.
Right.
So the only thing you're doing is giving them the money quicker,
Right.
but you're not getting a break on cost.
Well, I like the 10-year term because it adheres to the intent of the 0.88 when it was passed in 2017. It keeps us the closest to retiring that debt when they said we would retire it back in 2017. So that's my leanings.
And either one of them gives us something to budget for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll get us down to a reasonable rate with the PSPRS, the Emergency Services Funds, that we can, once again, some of the stuff that you have done this year, you are setting up for people in the next 10 years to be able to have a successful budget going forward and not just having that sucker continue to grow.
Right.
And, as long as we stay on top of it, I think that should be number one goal of every manager you hire, is that make sure that those payments get made.
Right. And to allay the fears of our speaker tonight, we're not adding debt, we're
Right.
exchanging debt for debt.
No,
And
we're
so-
not. It's like refinancing your home for a better rate.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have a question on your wording here. I always get concerned when I see things like certain matters. What is the definition of certain matters? Is that referring to 4, 5, and 6, and 7? Are those your certain matters? What are certain matters?
I'll let the attorney answer.
Thank you.
attorney
I would like to know that, because that concerns me.
Yeah.
Mayor, Council, my name's Zach Sakis. I'm a bond attorney at Greenberg Traurig. Mayor, I'll look for the guy that wrote that resolution caption, you know, give him a stern talking to. It's a little bit too lengthy. Councilmember, in response to, in the resolution caption, right, the use of the word certain matters is just to summarize a variety of the items that are otherwise detailed in the resolution and in the forms of documents that were included in your packets for review in connection with the transaction. Generally, how we do these transactions is council approves a parameters resolution, right? So certain not to exceed principal amounts, not to exceed interest rates, not to exceed final maturity of the obligation payment date. And then from there, delegates authority to town staff to work through those details, always staying within council's authority. So nothing in this resolution requires the town to enter into a transaction, right? Maybe the market moves against and the refinancing benefits that the town manager described are no longer available. So nothing in this resolution requires an issuance or requires the town to take on a new payment obligation. It just enables district or town staff to, should advantageous market circumstances be available, to take advantage of those circumstances.
Okay, great.
Is that
Thank you
helpful?
for the clarification. I appreciate that.
No, Jim?
Yeah, I was just wondering, the post-issue disclosures, is there, how much more goes into that than what we already disclose as in the town financial statements from year to year?
Mayor, council, so everybody prepare for eyes to glaze over as I go into SEC securities regulations. Bear with me. But in general, right, the town is its own governmental entity. It is not regulated directly by the Securities and Exchange Commission, but any investment bank that wants to go and market the town's obligations to investors, they are heavily regulated entities. So for them to be able to achieve their regulatory obligations to the SEC, they need to get a promise from the town to provide ongoing obligations. So in your council packets was included the form of a continuing disclosure undertaking. It says if certain listed events happen, right? So if for some reason the town has, financial challenges, you have to tell the market. If the town incurs other material financial obligations, you have to tell the market. Right. So it's all listed there. It's industry standard. And then because the town hasn't done a debt offering in a long time, some of the rules changed in 2019. And so we have policies included in tonight's packet where we just sort of bring everything current and say that the town, will follow its obligations that it enters into. But it's all a contractual obligation to provide. And typically, if your question is, are we producing a second ACFR? The answer is no. Usually at the back, it's, you have to provide these 16 listed events, and then we'll list a few tables out of the official statement that do require annual updates that investors would want to see. For example, local sales tax collection projections.
Yeah, that answered the question. I was just kind of hoping that maybe there'd be something in the bond. I talked to Darren about that. If the bondholder, wanted to say, I know they can sell it on the secondary market, but what if, could they give the town the option of just paying off that bond at that time, whatever that is? So if we wanted to reduce the outstanding, bond amount at any time, if we had the funds, that the bondholders have no option of just saying, hey, I'm willing to retire this bond at the interest earned today and be done, if the town would want to do that.
So you didn't believe what I said, so now when you say it.
Well, I'm just checking up on you.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Jack Leeper. I'm from Stiefel. You can, in certain situations, you can seek out a bondholder. Now, if we did actually do this sale, there would be many bondholders, all with their own objectives, investment objectives, things like that. You can theoretically reach out to them and say, hey, would you be willing to sell us back our bond? But typically, they're not going to do that at a loss because they want to get their interest.
Makes sense.
Well, I don't mean that a loss, but, you know, for their interest earnings up to that point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
They would, so when there is a process to do this, but they would require a price paid by the town that would make it less attractive to you.
You know, if they were gonna sell it on the secondary market, you know, this may be a better alternative for them.
That is, if they are trading, if they are selling a significant amount in the secondary market, there would be an opportunity if the town had the cash to do it and the interest to do it.
We could buy it.
To buy their bond back.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got two, I guess one question. In the resolution, section 1B, where it kind of outlines the max terms of the bond, we're currently paying, Darren, 7% right now, right?
7.2, 7.3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a flat 7%. So the first one is, should we not have that cap be lower? I know it offers more flexibility, but if we're getting a very, very minor reduction, if we're going at 7%, I don't know that it would totally make sense. And then the 20-year term, I know it's just the max term, but I think the max up here, if my temperature check is correct, would be 15 years. And even then we all want 10. So I don't know if that's something that the rest of the council would want to change, or if you can feel free to change my mind on it. But those two things seem like we should put a lower interest rate cap and a lower term on there.
Sure, good question.
Great.
Oftentimes when we put these parameters in the resolution, we are going for flexibility. If there is no chance that you would do a 20-year bond, then that we can certainly adjust that parameter. We could do that tonight before you vote on it. And then the interest rate as well, that 7% is just kind of meant to match that assumed rate of return with the pension plan. So certainly we wouldn't be doing a pension transaction if the cost of borrowing was 7%. So we could lower that amount to 650, 625. We do want to allow, future flexibility depending on what happens with the interest rate markets. There's a lot going on in the world. Certainly, I think if the interest rate's 6.25, 6.5, we still wouldn't be doing a transaction. It's just whatever you potentially adopt tonight, we cannot exceed in any circumstances. So we do like to have a little bit of wiggle room, but certainly it's up to you all, the parameters you adopt tonight, which we can change in the current form.
So if we were to sell the bonds today, what would our interest rate be at? We say your max rate's going to be 6.25, 6.
On a 10-year.
Yeah, on a 10-year.
10-year.
I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, that's okay. I have all this great stuff.
I think initially we had discussed 5.75, 5.8, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
So the all-in true interest cost of the 11-year transaction, according to numbers we ran a couple weeks ago to get this presentation to you, we're at 5.44%, and that generates about $3.4 million of net present value savings.
Now, if they vote on that, when can we lock that in?
So if they vote and approve the resolution tonight, that would start a 30-day waiting period, and the soonest that we could lock in interest rates, sell the bonds and lock in interest rates would be, I think, September 15th would be the first day.
So that's where you're getting the fluctuation, because potentially if interest rates go up again, I got it.
Correct.
Got it. Good question, Dallin.
I mean, I would prefer 15 years. I would like 6.25 if the rest of the council wants to keep it at 6.5.
6.25 would be good.
6.25, and I would like the 11-year.
I'd like 11-year or 10-year, 11-year.
Yeah, 11.
I know, sorry, we're giving you that, but that's, yeah.
That's great. Darren, did you want me to go through the scenarios? It sounds like it's been.
No, I think
we've got
they
that
have
down.
discussed, is there somebody on the dais that feels like they need the presentation again?
I don't.
I think what we really were looking for is exactly what you just told us.
And to get it,
Yep.
let's get moving so we can lock in that rate.
Correct.
30-day waiting period is because we're not using an emergency clause.
Correct. No emergency clause.
No emergency clause?
No emergency
No.
clause.
No emergency
Okay,
clause.
thank you. Just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay. So do we need a motion on that, Matt, or is directive good enough?
No, you probably need a motion on that. And to the extent you're looking to amend that resolution, sort of on the floor, we're gonna have to need to kind of know what that amended language is gonna look like and sound like. So we can kind of plug those.
Just to ask the question, did you want to amend that not to exceed maturity to 15 years, even though we're planning on the 11, or limit it to 11 in the resolution?
I personally am fine with leaving it at 15, just so there's some flexibility. If there's a huge drop in our revenue, we think, hey, we don't prefer it. I don't think that's going to be the case, but 20 years seems a little excessive, in my opinion. But I'll defer to the rest of the council if they.
I'm leaning, I want to be at 11. Yep. Because once we agree to this and the 30 days passes, we don't have the flexibility then to change it. It's etched in stone.
I agree on the 11-year.
And if something wacko happens, we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I'm with the 11-year
So
myself.
I would need to, I move to approve the amended resolution number 2026-034.
I move to approve resolution number 2026-034 with the following amendments.
With the following amendments, not to exceed the 11-year term and not to go beyond 6.25% interest. Okay? All right. All other terms and conditions remain the same.
I guess I second that.
Good job.
And is that enough information for you guys?
Yes, we were just confirming, sometimes in these, we have the outside payment date included, but this, as amended, it will say 11 years, but not later than 11 years after the initial execution
Okay.
of the obligation. So that
Okay.
gives us the flexibility.
Understood. Thank you.
And just for the public, because it came up in the call to the public and it came up on the dais again, it's section 11 of the resolution that says the effective date of this resolution shall be September 11, 2026, which is the date that is 30 days following the adoption of the council, the effective date. That's you making the affirmative decision. You are not doing an emergency
Got it.
declaration.
If anybody wanted to appeal this, they could at any time during the next 30 days.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold it. Say that one more time, please. What did you just?
Just so you're ready.
Yeah.
You did not adopt it with an emergency declaration. So it goes into effect 30 days from the date of adoption.
Okay.
I think then the question became of whether it's referable and or general obligation bonds at this level, legislative acts or administrative acts. And then after you make that decision, I know they become administrative acts, but I don't know if you have a thought on that, Zach, since you live in this world.
So I'll take the mayor, council, I'll take the easy question from the town attorney first. General obligations would not be referable because they're already approved at an election. It is generally treated that an excise tax transaction, courts have not made any statement as to whether they're administrative or legislative. So very often, as an abundance of caution, they're treated as legislative matters.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And call for a vote. And passes 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, council.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, F2, second public hearing, possible action regarding resolution number 2026-036, authorizing the submission of an application for fiscal year 2026-2027 State Community Development Block Grant funds, certifying that said application meets the community's previously identified housing and community development needs and a requirement of the State Community Development Block Grant Program, and authorizing all necessary actions to implement and complete the electives outlined in said application. Open the public hearing. And Donnie's at the podium.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to introduce to you tonight Andrea Robles, if you have not already had the pleasure of meeting her. She is the Executive Director of CAG. She will help conduct our public hearing for this, and then we'll be able to our application and projects for that.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to select a project for federal fiscal year 2026 CDBG funding cycle. The town of Payson is expected to receive approximately $187,208 in CDBG funds. Your first public hearing was held on July 20th, 2026, and the following projects were proposed: town sidewalk and curb ADA improvements, ADA park improvements, and the ADA library improvements. The only projects identified on this list from the previous public hearing are eligible for consideration tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I know that staff has also prioritized those projects, so if you'd like to hear from Donnie and have that discussion before voting.
Any comments from the public? Hearing none.
Any online?
Any online? Any on Zoom? I close the public hearing. Any comments from council?
I don't have any.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're good to go if that list is still good.
I just want to ask one question. The purpose that this money is for, because it is for, ADA compliance, does that make it easier or to get through for funding through CAG because of the purpose of it?
Mayor, council member, yes, the ADA projects are much easier to get through ADOH. A lot of the time, your environmental review is a lot easier. They have 3 different tiers, which each tier costs a little bit more money. So the ADA projects are usually your easiest to get done. They also do not require the special income survey where staff is out there knocking on doors trying to get
Got it.
And then this is a resolution, so we'll need your recommendation to approve this, or your approval to have CAG start the application with these 3 projects tonight.
So we need a motion?
Need a motion and a
Second.
You got a motion
it.
from Suzie.
Oh.
I move to approve resolution number 2026-036.
And I second that motion.
Call for a vote? Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to F3, first public hearing regarding ordinance number 2026-105. Ordinance 2026-105, adopting certain international codes with local amendments thereto to serve as the town's building regulation and fire code. No action will be taken at this public hearing. And B is resolution 2026-032, declaring certain documents to be public records to serve as the town's building regulations and fire code, and directing the town clerk to maintain copies thereof as required by law. Open the public hearing.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. The purpose is for our first public hearing with you tonight for the adoption of the 2024 international codes and for our local amendments. So our town currently enforces the 2018 international codes. The code cycle is updated every 3 years by the ICC. They usually update it to look at new building technology, best practices, safety standards, things like that. This year, we didn't see a lot of changes, mostly modernization of the code book itself. As you are aware, we do have a building advisory board. The building advisory board is made up of our local contractors, builders, and developers and community representatives. The board has evaluated and conducted public reviews of the proposed 24 codes and our local amendments, as well as we also held a public open house at the library. We've had discussions with contractors and builders and the board. So we had held 2 building advisory board meetings, the library open house, and then at the 3rd building advisory board meeting in June, they recommended 5-0 to recommend approval of the 24 update with our local amendments. As I mentioned, this is only the first public hearing, so there will be a second hearing, so you don't have to make any decisions tonight on the adoption. If you have Jerry Moore, he is our senior plans examiner. He can answer any technical building code questions if you have any. And we will be back September 9th for the second hearing on this.
Is there any summary of the changes between 2018 and 2024 that we can look at? Because I pulled up in my rain soaked documents here, and looking at it, the codes are 7,000 pages. I can't read 7,000 pages.
What else you got to do?
Charlie can.
So my question is just where can we get a synopsis of what was changed and when?
Is it?
Synopsis at the next meeting if you would like, but I went through it to present to the Building Advisory Board. I basically front to back in the IRC to bring all that up. And like Donnie mentioned earlier, most of this code cycle changes, most of them were modernization of the book itself and the code. We have what's that? Yeah, we have the codes. Each section has I'm blanking on the word. I believe UDC.
The QR code.
Yeah, the QR code. I'm sorry. So they have a QR code in the beginning of each chapter, and any of the changes in that chapter are highlighted in blue, or they're underlined of what the changes are. So that's.
So we could do it that way? We could go.
Could I get a copy of what you gave to the
Yes, so
building commission?
at the building advisory board and at the library
Yep.
meetings, we did have a PowerPoint that had kind of summarized some of the changes that we really saw that would be affecting any of our builders. But to Jerry's point, a lot of it was modernization of the book itself, so it was maybe moving definitions to a different section. The biggest changes weren't really affecting us. There weren't as many, but we do have kind of a summary of what we thought would be affecting our builders. We had, for example, some solar or battery storage, which really was minor.
Oh, okay.
And then we also had our local amendments where we wanted to get clarification on driveway materials. Those were our biggest conversation items at all 3 meetings. Those were the only 2 we really discussed. But we can provide to you the summary that Jerry had at those meetings.
I would like to see that.
Helpful.
Yeah, I'd like
Because
to see
I
more
looked at the first volume and I started a little light reading of the 790 pages. And it's overwhelming. So if you could get your synopsis presentation, I'd really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then Mayor and Council, I just wanted to point out that when that item A comes back at the next meeting, there's the word business regulations. It's going to be building regulations. It's just a typo.
Oh.
It was right on the second one, but just want to
Okay.
make that point for clarification for the record.
Okay, great, thanks.
I mean, there's your clerk. It's not mine.
So did I ask if there's any public comments? I don't think I did. Any public comments? Anyone on Zoom want to make a comment? No? Seeing none, I close the public hearing, and there is no council decision, is that correct? Just go on
That'll
to the
be
next meeting?
Next meeting.
Unfinished business, there's none. New business H1, I think we did that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're on H2.
Now we.
Now H2. Nathan's
Now it's your turn,
Nathan's turn.
Nathan.
Oh my goodness, you have a lot.
It is a stack. It is a
I
stack.
know.
These all made sense till it got wet.
Just takes the pretty out of it, you know? It's like the dog.
Yeah.
Our last item.
Yeah.
This, I was hoping to be here till 9.
No.
I'm sure you can do the cleaning.
Yeah, I can do the
Yeah.
clean bathroom.
I just text Dylan.
Are we all cracked now?
Somebody better go check on
She
Steve.
fall? There we go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Unfortunately, Kyle is out of town, so you get me. I'm back up, but I'm here to present on the Taylor Pool Rehabilitation Renovation Request for Qualifications. So what this is, oh, Kyle did it with. So an RFQ is to determine the qualifications and experience of the design build firms. The intent of the RFQ was to find out the approach that the contractors would take, how to explain their understanding of the problems of Taylor Pool specifically, to explain their experience, and to provide project schedule and relevant experience, and compliance documents as well. So the RFQ is not a bid or a proposal. We did ask for an opinion of probable cost. It is a non-binding estimation of what they assume that the cost will be. Every submitter had a different level of confidence with their estimates, but that was just a component of it. That was not the main purpose of the RFQ. The RFQ was to go through the qualifications of each of the firms. We received 5 statements of qualifications from Chase Building Team, Core Construction Inc., Landmark Aquatic, Low Mountain Construction Inc., and Mills Design Group. And so the RFQ was issued. We received SOQs, which are statements of qualifications from the different contractors. We reviewed those according to criteria that was included in the RFQ. As I talked about, how they would approach the project, their experience doing pools and municipal projects. All of the reviewers independently scored them, and then we had a meeting in which we went over the scores and created a short list. That is where we currently sit in the process. We have not completed the interview process. We have sent out additional information requests to those firms that have been shortlisted, but we have not completed the interview process. And then next steps after the interviews will be a final recommendation. So the evaluation criteria that I had mentioned, it was weighted according to the schedule shown here: qualifications, project approach, project management, similar municipal aquatic projects, the schedule, references, and then their licenses and insurance. So based off of that scoring matrix, Chase Building Team was our highest rated, followed by Core Construction, then Low Mountain Construction, Mills Design Group, and Landmark Aquatic was our last. So we shortlisted the 3 firms, Chase, Core, and Low Mountain. They all had high scores. They understood the existing conditions of Taylor Pool, including the challenges that are there with the sewer, the depth on the pool. They all have extensive aquatic facility experience. They had the strongest project teams, and they demonstrated understanding of the town's objectives, including the budget. So this summary here is the opinion of probable cost. There was a couple modifications that were made as we went through it, some things that we saw that we had to update. So that was why there's a late update on it. As you can see, the base rehab, so that is the option 1, that is just taking the pool and bringing it up to current code. So that's keeping more or less the same pool structure is what we requested in the RFQ. And then there's alternatives. There is a request for 8 lanes, or sorry, best practice was first a leisure pool, 8 lanes, 10 lanes, and then a covered structure. Each of those contractors approached it a little bit differently. For example, the leisure pool, they had a high and a low. This is the average of their high and their low. So some for the leisure pool had, let's say 500,000 up to 2.5 million. And what you see here in this table is the average of their high and their low bid for the different options.
And
these
Nathan,
are all, yeah.
Can you explain to them, I think that Councilor Nosek had this question about Low Mountain.
Yeah.
And why that came in so much lower.
Yes. And I will read from their RFQ. It says the RFQ's project objective number 1 request is to fully rehabilitate the existing pool and bathhouse. Based on the non-compliant code issues listed above, both pools don't qualify to be rehabilitated with new plaster. The following should be considered as the base minimum. Construct the pool inside the old swimming pool structure. So they are planning on constructing a pool inside of the existing pool, which would shrink the footprint, shrink the depth. In that option, it would not be a competitive swimming lane environment. It would be too shallow to be a competitive swimming environment.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And then just
How about landmarks?
Landmark
Being significantly less.
Theirs did not include any overhead and profit in theirs. So 4 of the 5 filled out the same form. I will say Low Mountain used their own form to fill out their cost estimate, so they don't have it broken down like the others do. Landmarks, if you look at their pricing, they did not have any overhead and profit factored in, where all of the others had overhead and profit, as well as their contingency was only $100,000. Generally, for a project of this nature, you're looking at 3 to 5%. With some even going up to 10%, which at $7 million is $700,000 for 10%, $350,000 for 5%. So once you factor higher contingency in and a overhead and profit, Landmarks is likely closer. Again, these are not bids. These are just opinions of probable cost. So that is lower though because of those factors in our opinion.
Yeah, a question like with Core, they had that, 7.3 for the base.
Yep.
And then best practices. Now, so if you want to have the best practices, you'd take the 7.3 plus the 9. Now, if you go down the 8 lines or 8 lanes, you would have 7.3, the 900,000 plus the 2 million.
That is correct. So the one thing that we have not got clarity yet, Core's, I believe their 10 lane is not in addition to their 8 lane. I think that is just the 10 lane option, where if you look at like Chase's, for example, it's 667. I don't think that's when the 8 lanes 1.5 million. I believe that you would add Chase's 10 lane to their 8 lane. However, Core's appears to be that their 10 lane would just be that 2.9 added to the base rehab price.
It'd be nice if you could just pick you know, this from the one, the leisure pool from another one, and I mean, you'd probably come to a reasonable cost. It just seems like there's, you know, at one point, you know, you're looking at 8-lane, you know, Chase is, you know, a quarter of the cost of core. I don't, to me, I don't understand how you could have that much difference.
And
If you, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Jim is looking at the old numbers.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
been
sorry.
corrected.
Yeah, that,
Oh,
that one
okay.
was corrected.
So
So
it's-
that was
it's
one of
okay.
the,
1.5.
there were a few items in this that we found that were incorrect. So Chase is 1.5.
I don't have the new numbers.
Oh, I don't have the new.
Okay, it'd be nice to have the new.
yeah.
Can you see them here?
Yeah, we can, are you kidding me?
Oh, you can't
They're
see
also
them?
in our
And
presentation.
we can
that's-
definitely- We'll definitely get that to you. I apologize for that. That was something that we caught. It looks like there was a mistake in the PowerPoint,
The
so.
angle and the size in.
Yeah, it needs to come out
In
and
a
turn.
blind eye lady, that's not even close.
So
It's, yeah, it'd be nice to have, I think, some more realistic numbers. I mean, at some point, what, are we gonna be asked to choose the features tonight and then go back to the top 3 and they're gonna do?
No.
Okay.
No.
What the plan is to continue the interview process, get more clarity on some of their numbers, their
Okay.
assumptions, things of that nature. And then what we'd recommend is having those firms come to council and present to council, where you can ask questions, whether it's in a work session or in a council meeting to
Okay.
ask questions. And
You're not asking us about features and stuff tonight?
at this point, we are not.
Okay, all right.
Nathan, did we ever, and Darren and Sheila, did we ever verify that all the infrastructure's there that's needed? Because
You
previous
say infrastructure, there's pool infrastructure, parking lot.
sewer,
Water,
water,
sewer.
drainage, all that stuff, what is all that? Are they looking at those numbers or is
Oh,
that
yeah.
separately?
So they are looking at, for example, the sewer, and they were given the report that was done in 2025 that analyzed the different components, sewer, water, the building, things of that nature. And so they use that as the basis. The base rehab was supposed to include those items that were identified. And as I said, most of the contractors followed that. However, Low Mountain, in their RFQ, they felt like it wasn't realistic to achieve that. And so what they proposed was building a pool inside of that pool, which would
Yeah.
shallow it up and not make it as big, so.
And if I'm correct, didn't one of them just rip everything out and start all over?
Landmark had one in which they basically proposed that that may be the best option. It was their option 6, so it's not included in here, but it was an option 6 that they provided in their RFQ of basically demoing the entirety of everything and starting from scratch.
What was the cost for that?
Landmarks, I believe, was $7.8 million for that.
Demo it all, and was that building back 6-lane, 8-lane, or 10-lane?
Landmarks.
6-lane, I think.
And it was this one here is their 7.8. So they had, as I said, all of them were. This isn't an apples to apples comparison necessarily because each of them had ideas of how they would reconfigure slide heights. You know, that's going to be a big cost if your slide's 5 feet versus a 30-foot slide. So in some of these, we haven't drilled down exactly what council's looking for, and so their cost estimates had a variation in it, a range. And so we took the average for those options, but to your point, it may be $500,000 to add 8 lanes, or it may be $2.5 million depending on what features they add with those 8 lanes. So.
Did any of them suggest the liner?
The liner wasn't in the RFQ. It didn't talk about the liner. It talked about the rehabilitation and making it, because there's some issues currently with it doesn't meet competition depth as it currently sits today. And so just putting it in a liner won't solve that problem. So there, in the follow-up that we did receive from Low Mountain, they did talk about liner being an option, you know, based off of budget. Liner's the cheapest option. Generally, a liner, they said, lasts about 5 5-ish years before it has to be fixed. But they said that the liner is going to be the cheapest option if, you know, that was the way that council wanted to go from a budget perspective, so.
My understanding that Chaparral Pine has had a liner in for what, 10 years or over? The 5 or 6 years doesn't seem, you know, it seems like liners are gonna last substantially longer than 5 or 6 years.
And I'm not a pool expert. I don't claim to be, so I would defer to a pool expert on that question, so.
No, nobody can argue with you on them.
That's right.
So just so we can understand kind of what we're looking at, obviously these aren't bids, these are cost estimates, but how they're all outlined them out, like, do we have, obviously if we do base rehab, we're probably gonna do best practice upgrades, so that makes sense, you add those together. If we want to skip the leisure pool entry and go straight to 8-lane and cover it, like, can we basically, to understand these numbers, pick and choose there, we don't have to go straight down the list to do those?
That's correct.
And I think the other big thing that we all need to be cognizant of is none of these are taken into account the pre-construction services fees that any of these firms are going to have, correct? As far as designing it, contracting architects, they were not calculating that into any of this.
Some were. That is something that we're getting clarity from in the interview process, but most of these are the total cost. There was one who said that most of them were just the construction cost, we believe, but one of them did state that it does include some of the pre-design costs. So that is something that we were trying to get more information from the different contractors on if that includes the pre-construction cost or it does not. So.
Are we going to be required to pay for our own project manager or have our own to run alongside with them?
In lots of cases, like if you read through the RFQ for Chase and Core, that's one of the factors that is a selling point, is that they are integrated with the whole team, and so they do a lot of pre-construction outreach. They hold neighborhood meetings to get feedback. They send reports and things of that nature. So we would have our staff basically work with them to complete the project. So we would not anticipate hiring a different firm.
Okay, got it. And just out of my curiosity, and it's because we have some new individuals that haven't been here through our whole pool escapade, has anyone had any firsthand experience with any of these companies? Another entity?
Kyle and I have had experience with Low Mountain. We accepted some of their bids for different contracts up in Payson.
Payson or
Page.
Okay.
See, I was stuck on Page, and now I can't. And that's the only one I think that
Rings a bell?
rings a bell at all. Most of it had to do with road construction and drainage and that kind of stuff. Nothing to do with aquatics.
Nothing with like pools or aquatics, okay.
And I've worked with both Chase and Core on the private side, but both of those were more apartment building, commercial buildings, not necessarily.
Are we allowed to ask like a thumbs up on either one, or no, we're not allowed to, especially in a meeting?
Well,
Not at
Or is
this,
that a
I'd
one-on-one?
recommend against it at this
yeah, I
juncture.
think they should finish the interviews because
Okay.
that could be a game changer.
They
for
gave us a
everything.
ranking, I
Yeah,
mean,
true,
essentially, right?
true.
We
Okay.
did provide, based off of the RFQ, we provided a ranking.
Okay, all right, hint, taken, thank you.
And we were discussing this a little bit, you know, now that we have these guidelines, you know, it depends on when council decides to start funding this, we may have to go out for a whole new RFP where they actually dig in deep. There's more explanation of expected materials, of, you know, that kind of stuff. Unless, Dallin and I kind of discussed this morning, that maybe we want to start the architectural end before, but I don't know, there's lots of different ways that we can go about this. But with it not being funded this year,
Yeah.
and that was a good reason for
That
the
makes-
qualifications rather than
That makes sense.
Could we not narrow it down to 3 and do RFPs just to those 3, just so then we have actual hard estimates and proposals from those ones? Or do we have to go fully out to RFP?
Good, but we don't have any plans at this point to rehab it. So having them bid would still have uncertainty with it because of the fact that they're not bidding off of a designed plan set.
But if we did it as a design build, they would be in charge of designing it in conjunction with us. So we could give them our list of owner's criteria and they would bid it a GMP budget to that, correct?
And we could do that. We could select one of those and then start that process. Especially, with budget not being really, we're going to start doing it in January. We're not that far away.
Right.
And the closer we get to the end of the year, there may be some money that's available to start that process earlier.
Yeah, because if I understand the design build contract, we would basically there'd be two portions of it. We'd have the pre-construction services, we would have the construction budget. So we, in theory, could move forward. We have some funding that we've already set aside to start getting plans drawn, start getting down the road with a general contractor. And then, when the funding comes available, then execute the amendment to the contract with the final budget.
Yes, we could do that.
All right.
Once we get a final number.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, they would basically give us the number once we get 90% drawings. That's when we would give official thumbs up or thumbs down.
I have some questions. I know you had some more slides. Do you want to finish the?
These were just
next steps. It was based on your next steps.
So the interview process, as we talked about, next steps, firm presentations to council selection, and then a design build
And
contract.
you did change that then. It did say design bid build.
Correct.
And that was confusing. And I think for the public, I know Dallin has much more expertise in this area, but I think it'd be worth it for the public to hear some things, the differences between an RFQ and RFP. The 3 public meetings we had, RFQ was never mentioned. We said RFP, and everybody thought we were going out for RFP. I understand why we did RFQ with the bids, but it might be good for the public to hear the process and how a design build contract. Will an RFP come after the RFQ? And then we pick, does the team pick? Does the council pick off of the RFP? So just that whole process, I think, would be good for the public to understand where we're at
I agree.
right now. And yeah. Did I muddle it too much?
Yeah, no. There's a couple different ways that it can be handled. From the RFQ, typically what you would do is you'd select, and enter negotiations to do a design build contract with
There
them.
would be no RFP then.
Correct.
If we went that route.
Correct.
Okay.
You could select you could select a contract firm like this to do the design and then put it out for an RFP in which you have others bid on it. It's designed by one firm, but you could have others bid on it still. So that is an option that you could do. There's other options of CMAR, which is construction management at risk. That is where you select a firm, they are in charge of a budget and they are making sure that everything falls in that budget. The downside to that is generally what's seen as the downside to that is if there's savings that they accrue, they get those savings, not the town. And so that is generally a concern with CMAR. But there is benefits is that it's that cost is fixed. You're not escalating costs, so it's a fixed cost. The design bid, when you design it and then you send it out for an RFP, you are selecting a firm to design it, and then you could have someone else build it, and they may not have the same vision, so there is some risk there. But that would probably be the way to have the cheapest contract is to do a firm design it and then send it out for an RFP and have them bid on it and then select the firm that way. So,
Where would you say we are in the process in terms of selection? If you shortlisted 3, and the next step would be the council would select.
Correct.
One of those.
That's correct. So we do.
And then the council. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
And then the council would decide whether to do a CMAR, to do a design bid, or an RFP. That's where we're at this point in terms of council decision making.
That's correct. And we'll provide more feedback from the interviews as we get additional information, provide that to council to help. And then, as I said, we recommend you guys have them come in and do presentations to you. So.
Couple more questions I had just for the public. I'm not sure everyone understands what best practice is, and that add-on, if you could just, for the record, what is best practices upgrades?
Yes, so the best practices upgrades were basically having the most modern HVAC, all of that, so it's energy efficient, having more energy efficient doors and windows so that it saves cost in the long term, but it has more cost up front. Same thing with filters for the pool, all of that. It's the best practices upgrade. Mills design on theirs was included. The others was additional dollars on top of that. So.
And my final question, are you aware of any of these firms that actually did an on-site visit?
All of them did. There was a meeting that Kyle attended, and I'm pretty sure it was a requirement.
Yeah, it was mandatory.
It was a mandatory requirement to visit the site. So.
And one of them came back twice. I can't remember who that was.
Issue.
So they did do a lot of due diligence, coming to the site, looking through plans. We had the original plans provided to them as well as the report. So.
Thank you.
If we were gonna have a particular company design it, then we need to tell them what to design.
Correct.
What the features are, and how would we go about determining what the necessary or preferred design options are?
So if you have them just give the features, the budget may come back high. In talking with Kyle, he recommended having kind of here's our fee that we're looking for, our budget that we're looking for, and here's our priority list of features, and having them put together a conceptual plan that would meet that was his recommendation once we get to that point with selecting the contractor.
What are the rules for us as a council engaging with anybody from these firms in reference to the RFQs?
I'm sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear.
Don't do it outside of a public meeting. It sounds like once you shortlist everyone, you're going to have them back to do presentations, and that's going to give the full council the opportunity to ask the questions that you want of those particular people.
If another firm thinks that by any chance,
They're being favored.
yeah, they've been favored or swayed or
You'll get a bid protest.
they can be thrown out.
Even the appearance of kind of the impropriety, if not an impropriety, if you talk to one and you don't talk to the other is going to feel like, you've given an advantage to somebody else. So, we don't engage. The council doesn't engage prior to a public hearing.
Okay, understood.
I would just be interested, I guess, too, in if we're looking to have someone design it, who the stakeholders are that are making the best recommendations for the design.
You're asking me who the stakeholders would
Well,
be?
I'm not asking you who they'd be. I'm just saying it's going to be important that we have stakeholders that are closely associated with this industry.
And some of the RFQs, the one, I think the highest scoring firm, I will have to go back and check, but one of the top two highest scoring firms talked about having public meetings once there's a conceptual design to get stakeholder involvement and things of that nature, which was one of the reasons they scored high was the fact that they were involving the public. But.
Okay. I don't want to end up putting dots on the wall again.
I just want to add one comment. And I was pushing very heavily to reach out to stakeholders before we ever sent this out. And 3 of the members of the council said they knew exactly what the public wanted because they knew they had talked to them. So I would hope we do know what the public wants, because this came to us back in January, and we have not reached out to stakeholders. So I'm scratching my head a little bit on that comment.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Any other
But I'm
comments?
not gonna carry on with that because
Who's wasting time, right?
we've talked to, I've talked to quite a few people. So,
Are we good?
Other questions?
yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Nathan, appreciate
Hey,
it.
So this will be coming back to you.
yeah, we figured, we hope.
Yep.
It better.
I hope so. Sooner the better.
And
Yep.
Nathan, thank you, thank Donnie,
Yeah.
Sheila.
Really thank Nathan,
And-
because Nathan got this
You
dumped
know,
on him a day
Darren
ago.
did do nothing but say good job, so, but no, thank you very much.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
And with that being said, we're adjourned.